Hey, so in continuing with our month-long focus on the US, we decided to introduce another new mini-series here on the channel about the history behind flags. And perhaps one of the most iconic flags out there is that of the United States. Oh, and for any vexillologists out there, don't worry, this isn't a one-off. We'll be covering plenty of other flags from all over the world in future episodes. So if you don't want to miss out on that, subscribe down below and click the bell for all notifications. The national flag of the United States today consists of 13 horizontal stripes of red and white, representing the original 13 colonies that eventually declared their independence from Great Britain, while its 50 white 5-pointed stars on a blue field represent the 50 states that nowadays comprise the US. Some do continue to debate the precise symbolism of the colors on the flag, although it's generally agreed that red represents valor and bravery, white, purity and innocence, and blue, vigilance, perseverance, and justice. Over the years, various nicknames have been given to the American flag, among them Old Glory, Stars and Stripes, and Star-Spangled Banner. But while one of the United States' most recognizable symbols, the flag didn't always look as it does today. Before there even was an independent America, you had the red ensign of the British colonies. Sometimes also called Queen Anne's flag, it was commonly used by merchant vessels and Royal Navy ships in the Western Hemisphere. It's also worth mentioning there was a specific Union flag variant with a white shield or a scutcheon introduced for ships commissioned by governors of the North American colonies, but it's unclear if this flag ever saw actual use. Shortly after the onset of the American War of Independence in 1775, however, the Second Continental Congress determined a flag was needed to differentiate the now somewhat united colonies and their forces from those of the British, who typically used the King's colors or Union Jack. It should be noted that the red ensign and other military flags were also commonly used alongside that of Great Britain. The end result of all of this was the Grand Union flag, first hoisted on the merchant vessel Alfred, originally called the Black Prince, following its acquisition by the Continental Navy. Prior to this, many of the fledgling states had used flags of their own design in the Revolution's early days, such as the Taunton and George Rex flags. You might be noticing a bit of a theme at this point. Oh, and a bit of an interesting side note here, but the Grand Union flag was pretty much an exact copy of the British East India Company's flag. Anyway, after passage of the Flag Act on June 14, 1777, which not uncoincidentally is now Flag Day in the US, the Grand Union flag was replaced with a 13-star variant. Quote, "Resolved that the flag of the 13 United States be 13 stripes, alternate red and white, that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation." End quote. And following this, designers got to work. The Betsy Ross flag is perhaps the most well-known of these designs, but it was by no means the only one. You also had the Hopkinson's flag, which differed from his naval flag that had more red stripes making it visible against the sky for a ship at sea, and the Cowpens variant. Both of which, despite their differences, still conformed with the requirements laid out in the Act of 1777. A bit of an outlier here, but you also had the Serapis flag. Designed in 1779 by Captain John Paul Jones, a commander in the upstart Continental Navy, who, following the capture of HMS Serapis and loss of his own ship, the USS Bonhomme Richard, needed an ensign to dock at the friendly Dutch ports on the nearby island of Texel. Based off a description provided a year earlier by Arthur Lee, the U.S. Commissioner to France, the so-called Serapis flag was designed with haste to satisfy Dutch officials and avoid legal controversy over the capture of the Serapis, which British officials claimed was an act of piracy without a national ensign. The flag would also come to be known as the Franklin flag due to a description given by Benjamin Franklin and John Adams, and still is featured on the coat of arms or badge of the USS John Paul Jones today. Before going any further, it's probably worth mentioning there were other iconic flags used in the Revolutionary War, such as the Forster flag, Sons of Liberty flag, that of George Washington's headquarters, and the Appeal to Heaven flag, which kind of worked its way into the 1901 design for the state of Maine. Why? Why'd you do away with this? Just why Maine? Why? Interestingly, though, there was no specification made in the Act of 1777 regarding the number of points and orientation of the stars, nor whether the flag should have 7 red stripes and 6 white, or vice versa. All of which meant the overall design of the flag, by and large, was up to that of the designer. This eventually gave us a rather unique 15-star, 15-stripe flag in 1795, following the admission of Vermont and Kentucky as fully fledged states into the Union. And you can actually still see that flag, which gave rise to the Star-Spangled Banner, America's national anthem, in the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History in Washington, D.C. By 1818, however, Congress decided that while the number of stars would increase with each new state, the number of stripes would be limited to just 13, in honor of the original 13 colonies. This still left the door open for some pretty unique designs, Colorado being a personal favorite of mine, until 1912, when, with the adoption of a 48-star design, the arrangement of stars in the canton was standardized. And that pretty much is the story of the flag of the United States. Depending on if another state is added to the Union, we might get to see a 51-star design sometime, the current 50-star version of the flag having become the longest design in use back on July 4th, 2007. Of course, I'm sure you've probably seen other variants of the US flag, such as this one, this one, this one, this one. There's actually quite a few of them. These, of course, being non-official variants of the US flag, often associated with various political or ideological causes. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode exploring the history behind the design of the American flag, and like I said earlier, we're going to be exploring plenty of other national flags and other non-national flags as well. So, if you have any recommendations, please feel free to comment down below, and with that, I'll see you next time. Peace.